All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched NBA facts. Got another video for you. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. And this video here is, another narrative that I've heard a lot about. For some reason, in the last 10, 12 years or so, because of a certain player that the media has tried so desperately hard to prop up and make the face of the league, and trying to call this player the greatest of all time and all these kind of things. Every set of criterias they use are formed around LeBron James. Longevity suddenly became the key factor and criteria when comparing a player. It never was before, not even close. It was always peak, prime, totality of someone's career. Now it's longevity. And to tailor around LeBron James's career, now instead of a good team that you beat, that you face, that you beat, whatever, now it is the number of Hall of Famers, the number of top 75 players. Because in some of the finals teams, and basically all of them are pretty close to it, of the ones that beat LeBron, they had, 3 or 4 players that are probably going to end up in the Hall of Fame. But what's wrong about that is, what's totally incorrect, they don't take into consideration the age of the player or where they are in their career. That is irrelevant. They just count the Hall of Famers. I've seen so many of these talking heads. Shannon Sharp do it. Somebody will be talking to him and he'll say, oh, he's not a Hall of Famer. He's not a Hall of Famer. Like, that makes any freaking difference. There's really only one number that matters when you're evaluating a team. And I have the 6 seasons of the Chicago Bulls in the 90s. And I broke it down to look at it. This is just the one I know best. This is a very good example. This is the best example, actually. What it is move it in a little bit. The 6 championship seasons. Okay, in 1991, the Bulls had a playoff record of 15-2. Now, I've heard people say that was the best team of the three-peat just because of the playoff record. I saw somebody had a podcast or something. They were doing like a tournament style, greatest team of all time or whatever. And the 91 Bulls were in there. And it's because they were 15-2 in the playoffs. Okay. Well, in 91, they were 15-2. They beat 6 top 75 players, 9 Hall of Famers. The records of those teams, 39-43, 44-38, 50-32, 58-24. Okay? There was 5 All-NBA players, and there was 6 All-Stars, which is 5 is the most on this list for All-NBA. 9 Hall of Famers is by far the most on this list, and 6 top 75 players is by far the most of the 6 championships. Well, in 92, their playoff record is 15-7. They only beat 2 top 75 players, 2 Hall of Famers, the same number of All-NBA players, and 2 less All-Stars. So, going by pretty much any one of these metrics, you would say, oh yeah, the 91 team, they were much better. They beat more top 75 and more Hall of Famers. Going by the LeBron James media criteria, the 91 season was much better than 92. 93, they were 15-4. They only beat 3 top 75 players, 3 Hall of Famers, period, which I'll get into that in a minute, who they were. 4 All-NBA players, 7 All-Stars, so that was the most. In 96, they were 15-3, but only beat 3 top 75 players, only 5 Hall of Famers, 4 All-NBA, and 6 All-Stars. 97, the record was 15-4, two top 75 players only just two. And that would have been Malone and Stockton. 6 Hall of Famers, 3 All-NBA players, 6 All-Stars. In 98, the record was 15-6. Only 3 top 75 players, 4 Hall of Famers, 3 All-NBA players, and 5 All-Stars. All right, so there's a lot of factors here going on. Number one, in 1991, the 9 Hall of Famers that the Bulls beat, they were Patrick Ewing. He was 28 years old, okay? On the same team, Maurice Cheeks, he was 34. I think that was his last season. Well, here's the problem, though. Oh, they had 2 Hall of Famers on their team, right? The problem is they're 39-43, okay? So the Knicks were not a very good team, but they had 2 Hall of Famers on their team, right? Exactly. The 76ers had Charles Barkley on their team, 28 years old, in his prime, no doubt about it. First team All-NBA. But here's the issue. They're 44-38. That's it. In the conference finals, they played Detroit. Detroit had 2 top 75 players and 3 Hall of Famers total. Isaiah Thomas was an all-star. Dennis Rodman was first team all-defense, defensive player of the year. Joe Dumars was third team all-NBA. Dumars was 28, Rodman was 30, and Isaiah Thomas was 30. So anybody says they're old, that's not true. But that's not what I'm getting at here. The record was 50-32. For a team in the conference finals, that's pretty weak, actually. That's a pretty weak record. The Lakers had Magic Johnson, first team All-NBA, finished second for MVP. James Worthy was third team All-NBA, and they had Vlade Divac, Hall of Famer. Okay? So they had 3 Hall of Famers. So all told, 6 top 75 with 9 Hall of Famers, right? 5 All-NBA, 6 All-Stars. That looks like the best line, right? With a 15-2 record. So the 91, that's the best run the Bulls had, right? Going by the LeBron James media, the 91 Bulls was the best championship run of them all because they beat the most top 75, the most Hall of Famers, and they had the best record. That makes them the best run, right? Wrong. It's not how it is, not how it works. Only thing that matters is the quality of the teams. All this is here. This here is, again, a criteria tailored around LeBron James. Because Oklahoma City in 2012, oh, they had 3 Hall of Famers. Never mind that they were really young. One guy was coming off the bench. None of that makes any difference. The Mavericks, oh, they had 2 top 75 players. That's the same as Miami had. Never mind that Dirk Nowitzki was almost 33 years old. He was definitely on the outside of his prime. And Jason Kidd was 38 years old. That is irrelevant. He's a top 75 player. That's all that matters. That you can count it and say it. I hear people in the comments saying the same stupid bullshit. All right. In 92, the Bulls are 15-7. Now, the Bulls were a 67-win team. Their best record of the first three-peat, by far. They only beat 2 top 75 players and only 2 Hall of Famers. Only 2. The only 2 that they beat was Patrick Ewing and Clyde Drexler. That's it. Now, in their mind, it cannot be a quality team because they lacked a lot of Hall of Famers and top 75 players. So there cannot be quality teams. So, in other words, Miami was 38-44. They had a losing record. That's the typical first-round team, whatever. The Knicks are 51-31, all right? Much better than the Philadelphia. Seven wins better. They pushed the Bulls to 7 games. How bad really were they? But they only had 1 Hall of Famer. What's that all about? Okay. Cleveland is a 57-25 team, a quality team. They had two players that were all NBA on that Cleveland team, Brad Daugherty and Mark Price. And I think Larry Nance made all defense as well. 57-win team. They're no pushover. Pushed the Bulls to 6. And then Portland, and I've heard this before, they're a 57-25 team in the finals, and they pushed the Bulls to 6, and they were actually winning Game 6. The Bulls came back and won. But I've heard, and I'm sure you guys have too, you've heard the narrative that it was Clyde Drexler. Well, it was just Clyde Drexler. He was the only Hall of Famer on that team, and a bunch of role players, right? I just did a video, I think 2 days ago, showing how stacked that Portland team was. They had 5 players that were multiple-time All-Stars. Buck Williams, Rookie of the Year, 3 times All-Defense. This guy was a legit player. I think he finished 5th for Defensive Player of the Year in 91. That was a very good team. One guy was in the Hall of Fame, but none of that mattered because the sum was greater. The parts was greater than the sum. These guys played together as a team. It was team basketball. It was not, let's just give 1 or 2 guys all the stats, and then we'll just do whatever we can, to feed those guys. Or no, everybody played a role. Kevin Duckworth was averaging like 16 points a game. Jerome Kersey like 15 points a game. Terry Porter like 18 points a game. That's a true team. That's a quality team. So by their logic, Portland was a much worse team than Detroit was. Even though they're 7 wins better than Detroit is a 50-win team, Portland's much worse because of one Hall of Famer. It's just the most retarded, stupid narrative. All right, 1993. The Bulls are not the 1 seed. They go 15-4 in the playoffs, which actually is pretty remarkable. But they only beat 3 top 75 players and 3 Hall of Famers. 4 All-NBA players and 7 All-Stars. Okay? Well, again, the ages of these guys. In 93, Dominique Wilkins was 33 years old. So he's outside his prime, but he's second-team All-NBA. That's what matters. Cleveland, in the second round, a 54-28 team, they had 3 All-Stars, Larry Nance, Brad Daugherty, and Mark Price. 2 players were top 10 for MVP on Cleveland, and that's who you played in the semifinals. In the conference finals, you played the Knicks. They had Patrick Ewing. He was second-team All-NBA, 30 years old. But none of that matters. What matters is they're 60-22. That's what matters. They were up 2-0 on the Bulls. There was a stretch from Game 1 of 92 through Game 2 of 93. The Knicks beat the Bulls 5 out of 9 games. They had a winning record in 9 games. That's not a super small sample size. They won 5 to the Bulls 4 over that stretch. And then in the finals, Phoenix was 62-20. The number 1 offense in the league. The Knicks were the number 1 defense in the league. Okay? They had 2 All-Stars, Dan Marley and Charles Barkley. But what was Kevin Johnson? Chopped liver? That guy was 5-time All-NBA. I don't know how many time All-Star, but he's borderline Hall of Fame right now. I would probably put him in. I would put him in. Tom Chambers, another guy. I think he was like a 4-time All-Star. Really good player. Phoenix was loaded. In fact, in total points in the 93 finals, Phoenix tied the Bulls in total points scored. They tied. But there was only 4 All-NBA players, and there was 7 All-Stars. But the 93 run was better than the 91 and the 92 run, not because of the record, not because of top 75 or Hall of Famers, because of the teams. Atlanta was 43-39, typical first-round team, but Cleveland was 54-28. You beat 3 teams 54 wins or better. 2 of them are 60 wins or better. That is what matters. The record, not the stupid top 75 or Hall of Famers. It's so dumb. And most of the players that LeBron James played that they make such a big deal about are past their prime. Like in 2012 is the perfect example, because I've heard this before. Oh, LeBron beat 7 top 75 players. One of them was Carmelo Anthony in the first round. Okay, they were not a very good team. They were in the first round. Okay, they beat Boston in the conference finals in 7 games. Okay, well, Boston had just got pushed 7 games the round before by the 76ers, who were the 8th seed. The 8th seed pushed them to 7 games, all right, in the second round. And then Boston pushed Miami to 7. I think Bosh was out, though, whatever. But those guys were basically finished. They were done. After that series, it was over for them. The next year, Ray Allen joined Miami. They were 42-40. They're done. They had a lot of pride, and all that. But Garnett and Pierce were not the same players that they were. And they were a 500 team. What can you say? That means nothing. That's stupid and silly to name top 75 players, especially ones that are past their primes. God, I hate that narrative. Okay, so in 96, the Bulls are 15-3. Obviously, it's a historic season. All that. They only beat 3 top 75 players in 96. They were Patrick Ewing, who is now 33 years old. Shaq was 24. And Gary Payton was 27. Okay, Shaq and Payton are in their prime, whatever. The Hall of Famers, they only beat 5. It was in the first round, Tim Hardaway and Alonzo Mourning. They're 42-40. They're a 500 team. Okay? Now, part of the reason, though, is because Hardaway came, later in the year, whatever. Hardaway's 29 and Mourning is 26. They're both in their primes. But it's a 500 team. In the first round, you're beating 2 Hall of Famers. It's meaningless. It doesn't mean a damn thing. And then they beat Patrick Ewing in the semifinals, but they're only a 47-win team. They're nowhere near the caliber of the Bulls. And then Orlando only had the 1 Hall of Famer, Shaq, right? Well, Penny in 96 finished 3rd for MVP. First team All-NBA. 24 years old. I mean, stop it. Actually, no, I think Penny was, I think he was 24, actually. Yeah, he was 24. And then Seattle, they only had the 1 top 75 player, Gary Payton, but he's Defensive Player of the Year. But they also had Shawn Kemp, who was second team All-NBA. Well, the year before in 95, those two were also All-NBA, and Detlef Schrempf. Detlef Schrempf was All-NBA too. They had 3 All-NBA players in 95. So the next year, they're all 3, still decent age players. They didn't just fall apart, but they beat 2 60-win teams. That's impressive. In 97, they're 15-4. They only beat 2 top 75 players. That's Stockton and Malone. So that means that their competition must have been awful, right? Oh man, what a weak run to only beat 2 top 75 players. That's what they say. I've heard them say this. Colin Cowherd, Shannon Sharp, Nick Wright, those fools say this crap. Yeah, 2 top 75 players, 6 Hall of Famers, right? Chris Webber was one of them on a 44-win Washington team. Big whoop. Atlanta, 56-26. That's a good team. They've only got Mutombo in the Hall of Fame, but Mookie Blaylock is finishing tied for 3rd for Defensive Player of the Year Mutombo won it, and Mookie Blaylock was tied for 3rd for Defensive Player of the Year. I think Christian Laettner was an All-Star, and Steve Smith was an All-Star in 98. It was a good quality team. They won 56 games. And I think they're the 4 seed. The 5 seed was like Charlotte, who was a 55-win team. The East was really good that year. But anyway, Miami is 61-21. They have Hardaway and Mourning, and then Utah has Stockton and Malone. So only out of all that, only 2 top 75 players. But they beat 3 teams 56 wins or better. 2 were 61 wins or better. That's what matters. The wins, how good the team was. This is only something, like I said, to tailor around LeBron James's resume. That's all this is about. It's the stupidest thing. In 98, they were 15-6. Only 3 top 75 players. And they were John Stockton, who didn't even make All-NBA because he missed like 20 games. Reggie Miller, who was 3rd team All-NBA. And, of course, Karl Malone, who was in between MVP seasons. And then 4 Hall of Famers. You know who the 4th one was? Vlade Divac on Charlotte. I mean, really? So 3 players were all NBA and 5 all-stars. Well, they've done better than that in, pretty much every previous season. But that's not what it is. Again, 3 teams, 51 wins or better. That's what matters. 2 teams, 58 wins or more. That's what matters. But all told, for me, the best run the Bulls had was in 93. They didn't have the best record like in 91. They didn't play the most top 75 players or the most Hall of Famers. And it has nothing to do with all NBA or all-stars. It has to do with the quality of the opponents. Cleveland is a 54-win team. Knicks 60-win team. Phoenix is a 62-win team. And the Bulls are a 57-win team. That's why the 93 run was their best run. 97 was probably the best competition run overall, because you look at it, Washington had the best record in the first round of any team. Atlanta had the best record of any team in the semifinals. Miami had the best record of any team in the conference finals. And Utah was tied with Seattle for the best record in the finals. So 97 was their stiffest competition, but the Bulls were a better team. But 93 was their best run, considering they didn't have home court advantage for the last 2 series. And, they're playing 3 quality opponents. So anyway, that's all I got for this video. This right here should be the template. You can put any player there you want, because top 75 and Hall of Famers, that's LeBron James's media and his sheep's criteria that they use. This right here is for common sense people. They're going to go right to the record of the team. Well, what were they doing that year? Who cares how many All-Stars, All-NBA, Hall of Famers, top 75 players? None of that matters. It matters of how good was the team. I mean, just look at the NBA recently. Nikola Jokic won a championship as the only real star on the team. Giannis won one as the only real star on the team. Kawhi Leonard won one as the only real star on the team. That's what matters. I mean, this stuff just drives me nuts. But anyway, that's all I got for this video. Like I said, this narrative is out there for a sole purpose to try to elevate LeBron James and diminish Michael Jordan. It has nothing to do with Hall of Famers. The ages of them are what matters. And I'll tell you another thing. You want to go look at the ages of these alleged Hall of Famers, like on the Spurs in 2013 and 14, and you look at all the Hall of Famers in top 75 players that Jordan faced, almost every one of them are in their prime. There's no 38-year-old Jason Kidd or, 36-year-old Kevin Garnett. There's none of that going on. You know what I mean? These guys are almost every one of them is in their primes. Now, Shannon Sharp will justify it by saying, Magic was, he was like, I heard him tell Steven Sipp he was 550 years old or whatever bullshit he said. He finished second for MVP and was first team All-NBA. Really? That's over the hill? You're a joke, dude. All this stuff with a sole purpose and an agenda in mind. For LeBron James to be the GOAT. They've gone to all these lengths to try to sell people on it. Obviously, they're getting paid for it. But anyway, that's all I got for this video. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. I try to give daily content. In fact, I have been giving daily content for a few months now. And that's it. Till next time.